Today on North Carolina Law TV, David Daggett, injury and disability lawyer from Daggett, Shuler Law out of Winston-Salem, talks to us about misconceptions regarding what are sometimes called frivolous lawsuits.
You know, it's popular to hear sound clips like litigation explosion,
Right.
and the number of cases and that sort of thing. The honest truth is the number of cases between individuals, what we typically think of as people suing,
Right.
have actually gone down. It's a political football that likes to be kicked around by both sides,
Right.
but in reality, there is no explosion of claims or cases.
That's all next on this episode of North Carolina Law TV. Stereotypes are all around us, at work, at school, on television, in books, and everywhere else. Every day we are bombarded with different stereotypes and common generalizations about the world around us. Media portrayals are perhaps the most widespread depictions that most Americans are exposed to. And on TV, lawyers are often portrayed as self-serving, greedy ambulance chasers looking to take advantage of a bad situation. The legal system is frequently depicted as an ineffective and outdated structure, overwhelmed by frivolous lawsuits. However, more often than not, these portrayals don't represent the truth. David Daggett is here today to give us the truth about common myths and misconceptions regarding the legal industry. David, thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
This is a broad subject area. How long do we have here?
Yeah, you could probably talk about a lot of
we could talk for a long time
with this. So many stereotypes begin as generalizations based on actions of a few people. Can you talk about some of the stereotypes of personal injury lawyers?
Well, in your introduction, you talked about greedy, self-serving, ambulance chasers.
Right.
But I've spent time, on a serious note, I've spent time on the board of governors of our state bar association. I've become uniquely familiar with lawyers across our state and to some degree across the country.
Okay.
And my experience is most lawyers are hardworking, decent, honest people that do a good job and care about people.
Sure.
Now, are there some bad apples? Absolutely. Are lawyers fun to make fun of? I guess so. But you know, one thing you have to realize is with every dispute, no matter what it is, 50% of the people are against you. Okay?
Okay.
This isn't like being on a star or something where most of the people love you.
Right.
You know, 50% are on the other side of any case that
Right.
you have.
Right. Okay.
And you know, there's an old saying that people will tease about lawyers in general, but not about their lawyer.
Not about their.
And the reason is because most lawyers do a fair, competent job for
Right,
people
right.
and provide a valuable service.
And so there may be a few that fit that stereotype, which is an easy stereotype to grab onto, but what your experience is in knowing lawyers in a lot of different areas is that that's not the
That's not the
common
norm.
case. That's
no,
not the norm.
no, it's the
right?
exception. It's not the norm.
Right. Well, talk to us a little about what some people are talking about in terms of the lawsuit crisis, especially as it affects the medical field.
Well, that's interesting. Looking at a broad base, we hear, and it's popular to hear sound clips like litigation explosion,
Right.
and the number of cases and that sort of thing. The honest truth is the number of cases between individuals, what we typically think of as people suing,
Right.
have actually gone down. The cases that you've seen go up are criminal cases, domestic cases, and cases of corporations against corporations.
Okay.
So what people think about when they talk about lawsuit crisis or frivolous lawsuits, typically what they're talking about is an individual bringing a case, and there has been no explosion. I mean, every study, every statistical analysis has shown that's not the case, and the number of cases are actually going down. So, you know, it's a political football that likes to be kicked around by both sides, but in reality, there is no explosion of claims or cases.
And especially between those individuals
Right.
where it's going down.
Yeah, being brought by individual
Right.
against individual.
Right, right. One of the biggest misconceptions about the U.S. legal system is that lawyers charge way too much for their services. What are some of your thoughts about that?
Well, you hear it all the time.
Right.
Don't want to talk to you on the phone. You might bill me for this.
Okay, right.
Or
Uh-huh.
a friend calls and they joke, "Am I getting a bill for this?" Well, of course, lawyers charge for their services, and lawyers charge in a number of different ways. They charge by the hour. That's usually described up front. Some matters are handled on what's called a flat fee. You just pay a flat fee for the service. Right. And some cases are handled on a percentage basis or a contingency matter. The important thing is the Bar Association recommendations are that all fee agreements be put in writing at the beginning so that you and me have a clear understanding and there's not a misunderstanding going forward. Lawyers, like any other profession, they charge a fee for their services, and that fee is required to be fair and reasonable for the services performed.
And is being the services that a lawyer provides, are there many expenses related to that? I mean, is that
Well, it can be expensive, depending on the type of case that's involved. The unfortunate thing is that for your common, ordinary person, you typically don't have legal insurance like you have health insurance.
right?
So affording a lawyer can be very difficult. That's where the contingency fee comes in, because under the contingency fee system, nothing comes out of your pocket until the case is concluded
right.
and that you actually have a favorable result. The nice thing about that is it also gives an incentive to the lawyer to do the best job possible for you,
Right,
and to get it concluded in a reasonable amount of time, because they're not getting paid either.
right, right.
So it's a nice way for an ordinary person to have access to quality legal representation.
Right.
Without the contingency fee, an ordinary person simply couldn't afford to hire quality legal representation, particularly in a complicated matter that's going to take a lot of work and a lot of time.
Right. So it's really a win-win for both in
It's a
that
win-win.
situation.
Yeah, sure.
And both are working hard to,
Sure.
or the lawyers are working hard to have a positive resolution.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, that's great. Well, so a lot of misunderstandings, probably a lot of good jokes you've heard,
Yeah, I've heard a few.
about lawyers.
I've heard a few lawyer jokes.
But thanks for helping us get a
Sure,
greater
sure.
perspective on that. Any last words that you have about this
Well, I
subject?
think it's good for people to have an understanding of how the system works, so that if they have a problem or situation, they know who to go to and what to look for, so that they get proper representation.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much, David, for your time today.
Thank you for
Appreciate
having me.
that. If you or someone you know needs assistance with their injury or disability claim, you can call David's office at 336-724-1234. Until next time, this is Nancy Hollett for North Carolina Law TV.